it play and call it work.
Hello there, Wargamers. Vito and Luka here to talk to you about the newest release in the Psychic Awakening series, The Ritual of the Damned. Now, what we're going to be doing is splitting this into two separate videos. You won't really be able to tell, but we're going to be talking about both the Grey Knights and the Thousand Suns. This video here is about the Thousand Suns, as you've probably already guessed. If you've already checked out the Grey Knight video, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you haven't, be sure to go check that one out if you have any interest in the Grey Knights. And the Dark Angels, of course, will be covered as well, but that's going to be by Steve, and I believe Matt, later in the week. So right now you're getting Grey Knights, Thousand Suns, later on Dark Angels, and would like to let you know that Vito and I both played a game of Grey Knights versus Thousand Suns, trying to use as much of the new rules as we possibly could in a 1,500 point game, and we got Ascension as an Eternal War mission. That will be in the MiniWarGaming Vault down below. If you want to check that out, that's where a lot of our Vault members support us and allow us to do what we do. But without further ado, to the book.
So we have two talking points here for the Thousand Suns, and this is actually something that's really, really exciting. The first one is there are 9 different ways to play the Thousand Suns, and this brings a lot of flavor to how you want to build your Thousand Suns. And then we have the stratagems, and oh boy, are the stratagems really, really powerful.
Much like Vito said, there are 9 different ways to play your Thousand Sun Legion. Some of them drastically change how it plays. Some of them are just minor alterations. Now, the way you build a cult is pretty basic. You just have your Thousand Sun detachment, and you say it's one of the 9 cults. And then they'll get the appropriate cult keyword, with the exceptions of named characters, such as Ahriman, Magnus. I think those are the only 2 examples. And you can't include cultists in that, nor can you include Zangors. So they don't take away from the cult. You'll still be able to have that cult keyword in addition to the Thousand Sun keyword, except a lot of the cult abilities only affect those with that cult's keyword. So like Rubric Marines, obviously the Scarab Cult Terminators, the vehicles, stuff like that.
All the generic stuff that come with the Thousand Suns.
Exalted Sorcerers, Demon Princes, all that good stuff.
Now, what do you get for getting or choosing one of these cults? You get access to a cult-specific psychic power, a cult-specific warlord trait, and a brand new relic, or what they like to call it, a sorceress arcana. Now, you know the psychic power in addition to all of the psychic powers that are in the Thousand Suns book, which is actually pretty huge.
It's a big deal. Like it's so essentially all of your psychers know smite plus your cult psychic power, and then you get to like Vito said, just pick whatever you want from the already 3 lores or disciplines that you can choose from.
Yeah.
First cult on the list is the Cult of Prophecy. Now, the psychic power that your entire Thousand Sun Legion, all the psychers, have access to is Divine the Future. So it's pretty basic. If it goes off, you roll a d6 and you store that d6 until your next psychic phase, and you can use it to replace any hit roll, wound roll, advance roll, charge roll, deny the witch, attempt to cast psychic power, or and deny morale, the witch test, and a morale check as well. So it's very much like the Miracle Dice from the Sisters of Battle, except you get to see what the roll is first and then replace it with it. Instead of having to dictate, you want to use it first. So it's quite powerful in that regard. Yeah. Now the Warlord trait for your Warlord of the Cult of Prophecy is guided by the Whispers. After they fire Overwatch, they get to do a 6-inch move.
This is crazy.
That's super powerful. That's good on any of you don't want your Exalted Sorcerer getting charged? Well, then you shoot your Infernal Bolt Pistol and you move 6 inches away. All of a sudden, their charge is 6 inches harder. That kind of stuff is really powerful. So it's really hard to tie down this Warlord. Lastly, the relic for the cult here of Prophecy is the Pythic Brazier. When a unit is elected to fight within 6 inches of the model with this relic, they get to reroll a hit roll, a wound roll, or a saving throw.
And a damage roll.
And a damage roll, that's right. And a damage roll in addition. So it's something good to use on, I guess, a Demon Prince if you really wanted to. I haven't seen really too many killy Thousand Sun units out there to really gain too much benefits from this. But to reroll a hit, wound, and a damage roll is not bad. I think the Demon Princes have fixed damage rolls too, though. I guess whatever, you have it on staff. You have it on staff. The staff can be good. And that's pretty much it for these cults. That's to the extent that they change up your Thousand Sun Legion. Not a whole lot in the Cult of Prophecy, but having guaranteed rolls is pretty nice. You know, why not?
The next cult we have is the Cult of Time, and their special power is Time Flux. This one is really cool because if you successfully get this off, you can bring back one model within coherency with all of its wounds back. So you have a Scarab Occult unit, boom, Scarab Occult comes back. Now, if you successfully get the power off on a 9 or 9+, you can bring back D3 models back with all of its wounds back. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, you can get a Scarab Occult, like you said, the Scarab Occult Terminator. That's the one that comes to mind immediately. There's probably other things that, maybe Scarab Occult's the best one, or Rubric Marines too, but Scarab Occult's a lot better. Yeah. You know, can you imagine going from your sorcerer, your aspiring sorcerer, to like a squad of 4 again?
Right.
Like, that's nuts.
Yeah, that's really. Or like even I love taking my Legion side squads of Rubric Marines
and just
keep replenishing them back up.
And get lucky, just keep getting D3 back every time. They're hard enough to kill already, right?
Yeah. For your Warlord trait for the Cult of Time, your Warlord trait is the Immaterial Echo. On a 9+ for any one of your psychic tests, you get to manifest 1 additional power. It's not too bad.
Right.
But I mean, let's say, for example, you've completely tapped out on all your psychic tests. Oh, I've got my 9. Boom, I can immediately cast another power. And maybe that can be really good for Time Flux. Or maybe a Smite that you haven't cast later on in the game.
And then they can only trigger once, though. You can't just keep chaining into more. You can't go 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. Yeah. You'd run out of powers to cast eventually because you only know so many.
Right, and it's kind of flavorful for 9 being Tzeentch's number.
Yeah, it's the go-to.
It's very flavorful.
Especially the previous power, too. The double bonus on 9.
Yeah. And for your relic, it is going to be the Hourglass of Manat. As soon as you die, you come back with D3 wounds remaining. This is really great, because as soon as your Demon Prince dies, boop, come back D3 wounds.
You can be super aggressive with them.
Yeah, and then it goes back to your turn, and then guess what? Snap, 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 snap.
The best part is you can be incredibly aggressive with a Demon Prince on your turn. You put him right in the middle of your opponent's lines.
Exactly.
And then he dies. He doesn't come back immediately. He comes back at the end of the phase when he could potentially not get attacked anymore, right? So say it takes everything and it takes the opponent's close combat or the fight phase to take him out. Well, he comes back at the end of your opponent's fight phase and you get to activate him on your turn as he comes back with, it doesn't really matter how many wounds, as long as he's got 1 wound, he's still just as effective, right? So that is a really good relic for a Demon Prince, especially a 1,000 Sun Demon Prince with all the built-in defensive utilities.
Yeah, because then you can have healing spells that can heal that Demon Prince. So you can be aggressive, heal, and then even be more aggressive later, or have maybe be a little bit more passive later in the game.
Right, and it's just ideally your opponent puts a lot of effort into killing this Demon Prince, or it psychs them out, thinking, I'm not going to bother attacking this Demon Prince because he's just going to come back. That won't happen less, but it'll happen sometimes. Cult of Mutation is up next. Their psychic power, you choose a terrain feature within 18 inches, and enemy units within 3 of it are distracted by it, thrown off by it, or unnerved by it. They have their movement, they reduce their advance and charge rolls by 1. That could be a pretty good utility spell. The Touch of Vistitude is a Warlord trait for your Warlord. Anytime you roll a 6 to hit, pairs up with Death of the False Emperor. You do a mortal wound in addition to the normal damage it would do later on with the rest of the attack. And I believe it's unmodified hit roll 6, so you can't give it any boost through through prescience or anything like that. And the Sorcerer's Arcana of the Relic is the Exalted Mutation. This only works on a Sorcerer model, and it gives them an extra Strength, Toughness, Attack. And that is it. Yep, Strength, Toughness, and Attack.
Not too bad.
It's all about mutation and change, right? Well, not change. There's an actual Cult of Change, I believe, later on.
Now we have the Cult of Scheming. These guys are pretty cool. If they successfully get this power off, they can shoot and still charge when they fall back.
Right. The only problem is you have to kind of commit to the fallback first, because then it's like you phases afterwards. But it only goes off on a 6. It's not too bad.
The Warlord trait is the Grand Schemer. Everything gets the
Disciples of Tzeentch.
Yeah, the Disciples of Tzeentch from the book. Now, anything that already has the Disciples of Tzeentch counts as objective secured, but they count as 2 models instead of 1. So a squad of 10 Rubric Marines now counts as 20.
Yeah.
That's really big.
That's huge. And it kind of makes it makes sure no matter where your Warlord is, he's going to have something obsec with it. Even including himself.
But it has to be 3 inches.
Right,
that is the stipulation. It's kind of situational. You're probably going to want to have this on perhaps a Sorcerer that's more of a support kind of character.
Right.
I don't really think you're going to want this as a Demon Prince.
I guess
it depends. It depends.
It all depends. A Flying Demon Prince with Obsec is kind of nice. It could be. It depends. Like most things in backlines are already troops already, so it's all situational. But it's not a bad Warlord trait at all.
And for your relic is going to be the Theorem. This is where Fair. Right. I didn't want to say the really long word.
Chakethel's theorem. I think.
Right. It's a really long word. This is for once per battle. Any command point that you spend, it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, counts as 0.
Right.
That's huge.
You get a free stratagem.
Free stratagem for 0 command points. That's huge.
That can really get your opponent as well, because command points are usually open, and if they see you're out of command points, then maybe they forget you have this relic. Now, in my opinion, you should always remind them, but you could, one of those like, you can't interrupt, you don't have any command points. I don't have command points, but you can use Chakethel's theorem. Or maybe you have to have command points first to use it.
I love that, though. That's really cool.
Or until after the strategy used by the model, this relic's controlling player. Reduce the command point cost of the stratagem to 0. That's right. So you don't have to have any command points first. You can just kind of keep this in your back pocket. Save it for a clutch moment when you have no command points.
Like I have 0 command points. Oh, by the way,
interrupt.
Boom, interrupt. Right?
Yep.
I need that quick reroll for something. My warlord's in a pinch. He's got 1 wound. I need that reroll.
Bam, done. Or yeah, you just exactly.
Or for whatever.
Literally,
I need a Veterans of the Long War.
Oh, that's a good one.
I need anything, whatever it is. Oh, I need my rubrics to do something shenanigan that we're going to talk about. Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
The next cult of the 9, we're at 5. Bear with us here. Cult of Magic. This one's super basic, but potentially powerful, especially the Relic of the Sorceress Arcana. Now, this is the one that Vito played in our game in the Vault.
Yeah.
He focused on the Cult of Magic. They're all about just hitting your opponent with hard-hitting, offensive, mortal wound dealing psychic powers. So the spell, or the psychic power they all know, is Astral Blast. It's a closer range smite. It goes off on a 6. It's only 9-inch range, but for 1,000 Suns, it's going to be 15. They take D3 mortal wounds. And then each unit within 3 inches of that unit takes a mortal wound. So if you get an enemy unit all bunched up, or a bunch of enemy units all bunched up, you can dish out a lot of mortal wounds with this. Now, the Warlord trait is Devastating Sorcery. This one's pretty good. After you resolve a psychic power that deals mortal wounds to an enemy, you do 1 more mortal wound. So smites are D3, then add the mortal wound on. Things like Infernal Gaze, which is 3d6 for every 4 up they take a mortal wound. You tack a mortal wound onto that. So you're always guaranteeing that 1 extra, well, not guaranteeing, but smites are always at least 2 to 4 mortal wounds, or they could be, d6 plus 1 on the big smite.
It's powerful. It's
powerful, especially when you're throwing out your 1,000 Sun Psyker, so you're throwing out 2 spells a turn. So you're maybe getting an extra 2 mortal wounds out there, especially with Astral Blast being a slightly harder to cast smite, but not actually that much harder to cast.
Your Warlord essentially becomes a mortal wound machine gun.
Exactly, yeah. So he's throwing out essentially double smites a turn, doing a bunch of mortal wounds. And lastly, the Relic is the Arcane Focus. It just gives him +1 to manifest psychic powers. Super powerful, obviously. So increased range with 1,000 Suns and increased bonus on their casting. Great. That makes your Astral Blast go off on a 5, your smites go off on a 4, and you're just throwing out a bunch of mortal wounds every turn.
I think when Luke and I were looking through the book, Cult of Magic may be one of the strongest.
That's the one that stood out to you right away, right?
Yeah, when we were looking through all the books, when Luke and I were looking at Grey Knights and Thousand Suns, that was the one, when I was just quickly looking through all the 9, Cult of Magic was the one that stood out to me, and was very, very Thousand Sunny.
It's like what was the fire school the fire.
The Pyre.
It's kind of like what I remind, like they're all about just destruction
and that's the one that I love the most, especially with like Colophus. I'm like, this is the one that I went to right away. I'm like, I love this Pyre. That's what I'm going to.
Yeah. And
that's what's really cool is that you can make any school, any cult that you want. And that's what I love about all these 9 cults.
Yeah, people that are going to play Thousand Suns love them for different reasons. And back in 30K, they used to have the different cults, the different studies, and the different specializations. And that one reminds me of the Pirate for sure.
Yeah. Up next, we have the Cult of Knowledge. Their psychic power is Psychic Delve. If you successfully get this power off, what's really cool is that any unit, or you pick an enemy unit, and the entire army that attacks that one unit gets to reroll wound rolls of 1. And it's all about knowing the weakness of that one unit.
Right.
That's really powerful.
It is really good. It's the Cult of Knowledge things. So like not like named characters. Again, that's one of the examples where cultists and the Zangors won't work in this one example. Sorry, but yeah, super powerful there. You choose, like, your opponent chooses to bring like a Death Star unit. Your whole army essentially gets to reroll wound rolls of 1 against it, and it's got range of 24 inches because you're 1,000 sun.
Yeah, because it's 18 and then plus the 6.
Right.
That's strong.
So you're pretty much getting a turn 1. So you walk forward. Oh, that unit there, my whole army is going to reroll wound rolls of 1 against it.
Strong.
Knowledge of your enemy, right?
For your Warlord trait, you get to reroll dice rolls of 1s, which is pretty powerful. So especially if you roll, double 1s for your casting,
Right. It's for manifesting psychic powers,
which is really nice.
Yeah, you get to reroll your rolls of 1, and then the relic is nothing too fancy.
It's just an upgraded flame pistol.
Right. So
Not too bad.
your exalted sorcerer with a warp or an infernal bolt pistol becomes like a flaming pistol. Strength 6, AP 2, 1 damage, D6 automatic hits. Not the worst.
But
It still keeps the pistol trait, so you can still use it in close combat.
yeah, but it goes along with the fluff of Cult of Knowledge.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
I like it. I like it. All the cults, they stick to their theme really well. Yeah. Cult of Change is number 7. They're all about disturbing reality, obviously change and shifting in and out of forms, all that stuff. So disturb reality is their psychic power. You choose a unit within range. You lower their leadership and attack by 1 as they are uncertain of themselves all of a sudden, and they maybe don't want to fight you. Now, the Warlord trait allows them to, it's reroll their charges, and they can charge the same turn they fell back. So it's like, again, you immediately go to Demon Prince. This is a very mobile Demon Prince. This is a Demon Prince that charges in to hit something, and then later on in your turn, if it survives, it flies over your opponent's lines, and then charges deeper into your opponent's lines, and really gets in there. That's a pretty powerful ability, all things considered. And then the Sorceress Arcana is the Capricious Crest. This one has 2 different effects based on your opponent being in range or you're in range. Now, if you manifest a psychic power with this relic being in range, I be it on the character with the relic, it doesn't really matter there, you get to change any result of 1 on your dice to 6s when you're manifesting powers. And if your opponents are in range, it's the opposite effect.
That's really good.
If they roll 6s, it become 1s. So, yeah, it's obviously a crippling to a lot of psychic power tests, and that could be a huge factor. I find a lot of you are probably going to pick these cults based on probably one of these abilities here. Like the Cult of Change, I honestly just like that Warlord trait.
Yeah, I mean, all the other ones, but I mean, just for the Capricious Crest, that's pretty good.
You might want that relic and like, okay, I'm going to play Cult of Change because I like that relic so much. Maybe you play against Grey Knights all the time, right? Or maybe you play against, I can't think of another immediately completely psych or heavy army other than 1,000 Sons of Grey Knights.
Could Eldar be one?
Oh yeah, there we go. I don't know why I didn't think about it. Craft World Eldar is an amazing example too.
Next up, we have the Cult of Duplicity. We have Sorceress Facade for their psychic power. Warp charge of value of 7. With this one, it's remove that unit from the battlefield and set it up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from enemy models. That unit is treating as a moved that turn, and that's pretty cool.
Right, it's all about scheming into your lying to your opponent, right? False images, all that stuff. Remember, your entire army, all the psychers know these psychic powers. Your entire army knows this is Gate to Infinity essentially for Grey Knights. You get to redeploy your units every turn, 1 unit per turn, as long as you get the psychic power off.
Yeah, and then that kind of goes in with the Warlord trait of Duplicitous Tactician.
Yes, you get to redeploy your D3 units.
D3 units. Before the first battle round.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so you know where your opponent has gone.
Yep.
I'm just going to kind of redeploy. So maybe you know that they have really good firepower. You can kind of hide your units around. I think that's pretty cool.
It is. It's really good. It's especially if you're going to be the attacker in a scenario, in the match play scenarios. You know you're going first. Your opponent counter deploys against you, and then you're like, okay, maybe you had a bunch of predators for whatever reason, all lined up to shoot down a lane. And they're like, I'm just going to look away from those predators. You get lucky, roll D3, you get 3. You just move all the predators to get in line of sight of something. There's other examples too, but that's a pretty strong ability as well.
And then the relic, we have the Perficitous Tome at the start.
Risky, it's risky.
Yeah, this is risky. At the start of the first battle round, roll a D6 if a model with this relic is on the battlefield. On a roll of a 1, your opponent gains 1 command point. On a roll of a 4+, you gain 1 command point. It
could be a way for you to get a command point. It works every battle round. You could get unlucky some games and roll a good amount of 1s, and then you probably will never want to use this relic again.
Yeah.
But it could be pretty clutch too. So
if anything, the Duplicitous Tactician is probably the real strong point. And actually, even the Sorcerer's Facade is really good too.
The relic, I don't like relics that aren't guaranteed to work for you when you need them to. So if it's like a 4-up, that could also never work. Not a huge fan of those kind of mechanical relics, but if you like that kind of stuff, it can potentially be huge.
Yeah.
The final cult is the cult of manipulation. Now, you get an idea what that's all about, manipulating your opponent. The psychic power is attempted possession. You choose an enemy character within 18 inches, 24 for 1,000 suns, and they suffer more wound. And now, that's really good for potentially sniping out characters that have 1 wound left, like that pesky character or warlord on a relic, on an objective in the back lines. You have 22 feet to just do a mortal wound to him and kill him. Now, the extra effect from this is if that character so happened to be a psyker, it's -2 to their manifesting capabilities on their next turn coming up as well, as you're assaulting their mind and distracting them from being able to utilize the warp themselves. Now, the warlord trait is beguiling influence. It can be good for, again, a demon prince or like any exalted sorcerer you don't want to die. It's a very defensive warlord trait. It reduces the attack characteristic to a minimum of 1 by 1 to a minimum of 1 of enemy units within 1 inch. So anything you're in close combat with. So Terminators go down to 1 attack each. Counteract shock assault if they only have 1 attack. It just takes that extra attack away. Again, very defensive ability. Now for the Sorcerer's Arcana, we have Sorthis' Reflector. I don't know how I feel about this one because of the stipulations. Essentially, in the fight phase, the bearer of this relic chooses an infantry model within 1 inch and pretty much takes their weapon. They are treated to have only that weapon on their sheet, and they get to only attack the unit that they took the weapon from, and they cannot reroll hit rolls, and they cannot reroll wound rolls either. So we were trying to think of a big character that would be useful on, and maybe a Smash Captain, but not an Ultramarine one, and it wouldn't be Gilliman because he's, first of all, not...
Or should have Leadership 10.
And he's not infantry either. Calgar's too high. I'm pretty sure we played Drago is like 10 or so there.
I think it's a lot of support characters or a lot of the leaders, but a lot of the unnamed leaders, because a lot of them are Leadership 9 or lower. So
you wouldn't want to put this on, I guess, like an Exalted Sorcerer with, instead of a 4-staff, they get to, like someone has a Thunder Hammer, and they take the Thunder Hammer off a unit, a sergeant, and then you attack back with a Thunder Hammer instead of your 4-staff. But you don't want this on a Demon Prince, because you'd rather have the Demon Prince attacking with his own weapons.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. Yeah. Not a huge fan of this relic, but maybe it's just because I can't think of something immediately good to use it with. And then that's it. That's all 9 cults. As you can see, each one does something very different. Some of them greatly change how you play your Legion. Some of them just give added bonuses. Now, I like these mostly because the 1,000 Suns are already pretty good, and now here's just more options that cost you nothing extra. So look at it that way.
Yep. And now we're going to go ahead and take a look at all of the really, really good extra stratagems that you get with 1,000 Suns. Boom! We are into stratagems. For 1 command point, we have a Magister. You get to take another Warlord trait and put it on another character that is not your Warlord. Boom. Very easy. And some of them are actually really good. A lot of Warlord traits.
Especially with all the new ones from the cults, right? So you choose a certain cult and you get that Warlord trait, and you get a Warlord trait from the book as well. Why not, right?
Yeah. Another one that we have for 1 command point is Risen Rubike. I don't know why I rolled my R's there. I liked it. You get essentially infiltrate on a unit of Rubric Marines.
Right. They just deploy anywhere you want, 9 inches away from your opponent's deployments. When you go to deploy them, they deploy anywhere on the table more than 9 away from your opponent's models or deployments.
Or deployments. That's one of the key
That's
ones.
super useful because you can just, a 20-man squad of Rubric Marines right in ruins in the middle of the table on an objective. That's going to be hard to get them out of there.
Yeah. This one that Luke is going to talk about, I like a lot.
Infernal Fusillade. You've seen it online. Warhammer community spoiled it. I've seen a lot of people upset about this one because of the potential there. Essentially, if a squad of Rubric Marines or a squad of Scarab Occult Terminators did not move in the previous movement phase, they get to shoot their rapid-fire weapons twice. So that is for their Infernal Combi Bolters and their Infernal Bolt Guns. Now that obviously pairs very well with Veterans of the Long War, with a +1 of wound. Yeah. Now, you got to remember, they can't move, and it's only the rapid-fire weapons. Now, a good thing is they get to shoot those rapid-fire weapons a second time, which means that you can, until the end of the phase. So you can shoot with them once, and then resolve some other shooting if you don't want to shoot with them right away, and then you can go back to them later and then resolve their second volley of fire. Yes, this is powerful. There are certainly ways to stay away from it, though, because you just have to be more than 2 feet away from them to force them to move. That way they can't use it. But then again, sometimes in the game we played, that's just not an option. The objectives were all in the middle, and we had to fight for them there.
Yeah. But like you said, you can do really good combos with that. Like you said, Veterans of the Long War,
Right.
and then you can use that one cult where you make veterans cost 0 command points,
Right.
or you even make this cost 0 command points.
Yep. This one's only 1, so this is a steal for 1 command point.
Especially how I like to do it on a big Legion-sized squad of 20.
It's really good when you risen rubricate them right in the middle of the table, and then on your first turn, you shoot twice with them with
I
Veterans
don't
of the
know
Long
why
War.
it's 1 command point. It should be.
It does have the stipulation of not moving, so I'm not overly upset about it.
Yeah.
But there are some cheese potential there with this.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of cheese potential there. And then the next one we'll talk about here is Sorceress Infusion. After a unit manifests a psychic power on a 9 or more, and if that unit's missing models or any wounds have been suffered by that unit, you can spend a command point and heal D3 wounds to any models missing or any wounded models in the unit. Or if they're just missing models, you return a model back to the unit at full wounds. So Scarab Cult Terminators, they're missing a model, they cast a power on a 9 or more, say they smite. Bam, got a 9. You can bring a Scarab Cult Terminator back for a command point, which is pretty good considering the Nurgle one costs 2 command points.
Oh.
And it's restricted to infantry. This one actually isn't only restricted to infantry. Not that it's going to matter too much elsewhere, though.
Next up, we have Yoked Automata. This one's actually pretty good. So it only affects Scarab Cult Terminators and Rubric Marines, so not Zangors. They get to heroically intervene as if they're characters. But they don't get to do it within 3 inches. They get to do it 2d6.
Yeah, so they could be within... Essentially, when your characters are charged, your support Rubric Marines or Scarab Cult Terminators within a foot can potentially heroic intervene, but you have to roll the 2d6. You have to actually roll the
So they have a heroic intervention of potentially 12 inches.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That one's 2 command points, though, but it could be free.
But it could be free.
If you're the one called that could be a huge gotcha moment, right?
Yeah.
Something to watch out for there.
I like that.
Probably more for the Scarab Cult Terminators because they can actually do something scary in close combat as opposed to the Rubric Marines.
But even if, like, I always go back to my big Legion-side squad.
Yeah.
It's like, no!
And it counts as a heroic intervention, so it works with Hateful Assault as well.
Right.
Which is extra attacks across the board, which is really nice.
Next up, we have for 1 command point, Indomitable Foes. You get to improve an invul save by 1.
Right. It's just, you choose a unit. It's just, Scarab Cult or Rubric
Or
Marines.
Rubric Marines. So this can be really paired well with the spell Weaver of Fates.
Yeah.
So Rubric Marines can go to a 4-up invul, because they have 5-up base, so you spend this for a 4-up, and then Weaver of Fates goes up to a 3-up. So you can have Rubric Marines with a 3-up invulnerable save.
And imagine how tough they already are to kill, with potentially, in most cases, a 2-up armor save. And if you have enough AP or damage to get through that, then you have a 3-up invuln save to deal with.
Yeah.
Now, the last stratagem is pretty basic. If you were to perils or suffer perils of the warp, you instead choose not to for 1 command point.
And that's called Adepts of the Immaterium.
And that's like literally it. I'd recommend using that if your character's only got within death range of perils of the warp. Or if you just really don't want them to take any mortal wounds. You know, your pesky demon prince is just suffering too much damage. Well, you know what? I decide I don't want to take perils of the warp anymore. Yeah. Bam.
That's pretty good. And that is going to be it for the Thousand Suns overall coverage in the brand new Ritual of the Damned book. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see the game that Luca and I did in the vault, please go down, click on the link down below. It was a pretty awesome game.
Yep. It was
very bloody.
It had its ups and downs.
Lots of ups and downs.
Ups and downs.
So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in and checking this out. We will see you in the vault and in our other shows. See you next time. Thank you so much for watching, and happy wargaming.
Make sure to check out Vito and Luka playing in the new Thousand Suns versus the Grey Knights in the MiniWarGaming Vault. Click the link below for your 7-day free trial.